This is a tutorial on the line drawing portion of basically a living room setting. And this is the speed version of it. You can skip ahead about 1 minute if you would like to see it from its basic white page in regular motion. One key about this drawing is just the general details. Having a lot of extra details is not a difficult thing to do. It just takes a little bit of energy and a little bit of thought. But the basics of drawing almost anything in perspective um, are pretty simple. And the goal is to learn how to take the simple concepts of perspective and be able to see more complicated things as those simple approaches. All right, so here we have on the white piece of paper, and typically the way I like to start an interior space is I draw the framework of the back wall, and the back wall is it's really important for the proportions of your room. The height of that rectangle is going to be the height from floor to ceiling, and the width is going to be proportional to that. To make it into an interior space, you take each corner, aim to the dot in the middle that you place, and draw off of it. The dot can go wherever you like as long as it's pretty much at the eye level that you want to view the room. So here I've decided how tall the door will be. The top of the door is aiming at the vanishing point. The sides of the door are straight. The top and bottom of this window are aiming at the vanishing point, and the sides of the window are going to stay straight. So I'm going to create a framework for like an open space into a kitchen. So again, it's like a basic rectangle. And there I'm building some counter spaces. And by aiming the corners of that interior rectangle to the vanishing point just a little bit, like that, and then cutting them off, that's the secret to making the walls look like they have thickness. I'm establishing the back of a counter, the vanishing point. By aiming from that corner, I can see where everything is. So that's going to be the floor continuing into the other room. Right there is where I want the back wall to be. Reestablishing those lines there, I think I need to straighten them out better. This video is on double speed. You can slow it down if you need to, or you can speed it up. So this little move here ensures that the opening is the same height as the door. So I'm putting another one on the inside. I want it to look like I can step into a room, so I'm going to add a little rectangle there to give that wall thickness. That new corner from the vanishing point lets us see the underside of it. Letting that floor line continue into the other room makes it look like we can step into that room. So there's an eye level. That's the horizon line outside. The horizon line outside, where the sky and the ground meet, that would always line up from your vanishing point, should be horizontal. Just notice that every time we draw a square or a rectangle on a side wall, top and bottom of it, or middle of it, goes towards the vanishing point. The sides stay straight. So these sides are straight, but the top goes to the vanishing point, the bottom goes to the vanishing point. So I'm going to make a grid, tile floor, and making some marks on that back wall equally spaced apart, and I will create some orthogonal rays. This can be thought of as floorboards or rows. And if you want to keep it that way, you could. This is how you create tile floor or a set of floorboards. Now I'm going to create my first row and then aim through the corners to find additional intersection points that will tell me where the rest of the horizontal lines go. Put a little shading back there to push it back into space. So I'm just thinking things through here. I think I want to have a chair or a couch. So this key is to draw the sideways view of it first. And I'm going to draw it to the right height. My eye level is about 5 feet off the ground. So this is about, from the bottom of it to the eye level is about 3 feet. So it's a sideways view, just making sure everything lines up horizontally. And I'm going to just use our perspective skills and turn this shape into a 3D form. Skipping over that arm of that chair, show the back cushion. Now wherever you cut it off, it should just be mimicking or be parallel to what's on the front. Where you cut it off determines if it's a chair or a love seat or a couch. It determines how long it's going to be. So from here we can deviate a little bit, make it a little looser, more organic, once we have the structure in. So these cushion markings, they're basically parallel to the edges, and they're mimicking the edges. You put in some, like a little skirt there, put in some brads. I like to do the ends, then the middle, then split the difference. That's a quick way to get them equally spaced apart. I'm going to add something, so I put the bottom corner of a rectangle, and then I'm drawing off the paper from the vanishing point. So it's sort of like drawing something in reverse. Instead of drawing the front of it, you establish where's the back of it, and you draw forward off the paper. So there's my front cutoff, and I'm going to add the rectangle to that. And that's how you can easily drop in the front. So I'm going to have a couch here, but I like to think of a couch as just a basic form. Think of it as a block at first. So it's a normal rectangle, the height of the cushions, and I'll make that 3D and cut it off. And then the back of it is going to be another rectangle off the top of it. And I make that 3D, but just a tiny bit, and cut it off. And then we erase what's inside it since it's not transparent. We can't see through it. So we need to get rid of all that. So that can then later on be addressed to look more like a couch. So here's a table, a good way to do that. I'm lining up the bottom and the top with the chair, make sure it works together. It's a normal rectangle, make it 3D, and then cut it off in the back. So right there, I'm figuring out where would it hit the floor. So basically this is starts off as a block, which all of us can do. And it's the framework, and then we can start to deviate to make it look like something. So working across, that's the front edge of a little stoop. It's two-dimensional, going off the paper, make it 3D, and where we cut it off is the back of the stoop. This is going to be for a fireplace. You can go straight up. How high? Up to the ceiling, maybe? Figure out where I want the top to be, aim it to the vanishing point, and cut it off. It simulates that something's coming out from the wall. The fireplace would be vertical, the top would come from the vanishing point. But then the inside part there would just, oh, here's a mantle, we just go toward the vanishing point, cut it off a little outside the edge, and it looks like it sticks out. Okay, so I'm making rows of bricks equally spaced apart. Each one of those tick points will come from the vanishing point. That makes the horizontal rows. And then the way you simulate bricks, most of the time bricks are staggered. So I'm going to make a vertical line every other one. And then another vertical line every other one, but change it. and that instantly creates bricks. I'll show some bricks right there. These need to come from the vanishing point. As simple as they are, they need to use the vanishing point right there. But then going into the fireplace, they're horizontal. And that makes it look like the bricks go inward. Got to create the top surface of that mantle. So this is me trying to simulate some firewood. These are vertical ovals, stacked on top of vertical ovals, and then the tops of the firewood just cut inward. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to imply that there's something there. Now we can turn this table into something more organic. The structure of the block is there, and now I can deviate, and it remains organic. Now this is what I would do to find out where any back legs would be if they show up. I can also do an interior border, sort of like there's glass up there, but the rest is made of wood. Making arms on the couch by drawing those circles on the front and then making them 3D to the vanishing point, cut them off right at the edge of the couch. That creates the arms. And basically we can, again, deviate from the block to make this more unique. The top surface has to go to the vanishing point. The sides facing us, they'll be up and down. Can't see through it, so we need to erase anything that shows through. This is why we draw lightly, by the way. As you might know from the speed art video, this is going to get inked later on. That's going to be in another tutorial. So the front of a carpet is just a long double line rectangle, very thin. I'm letting it go off the paper. And then I'll put the cutoff line back behind the couch. So that started off as a front thin rectangle that I simply made 3D to the vanishing point. All right, so this is an oval that is maybe like the part of a light fixture. The top of the oval is closer to us in this case, and it's above the eye level. So the top line here, that's the front of the light fixture anytime you have an oval, so I'll erase that. If it were below the eye level, it would be reversed. I'm just sort of using the vanishing point here to free-handedly imply maybe some ceiling detail. It doesn't need to be that detailed. Doing the same thing here. Maybe there's some grid pattern or row pattern on this carpet space. You can typically you'd want to work horizontally or using the vanishing point. These are not random lines though. They're not random diagonal lines. Just simulating some detail on the floor without getting too caught up in it. Notice how even when I'm free-handed, I'm still pulling from the vanishing point so that I can mostly be accurate. A little bit of free-handedness is not a problem in a drawing like this because it adds a little bit of organicness to your work. So this window, I'm giving it a border frame. And then the top and the bottom goes to the vanishing point. Now to make it look like this, like a bay window that goes out, I'm going to add a rectangle going into the window right there. Those two new corners though, they come from the vanishing point and underlap, just like that. Now it's as if the window is going outward. So there's the middle, I'm just going to put something there. I'm basically doubling the line to make it seem like it's more of a frame. And putting some little flower pots there. The closer one's a little bigger. The little details, they can go a long way at just adding some relevance to the picture. A lot of people aren't going to think about them, but they still fill in the gaps really well. So here's a set of drawers, just a line, and then I'm going to find the middle of that, and then that's where I'll put a vertical line to sort of split the difference. Find the middle of that, and find the middle of that with an X. And that's how I made sure that they were accurate. Even those little knobs are in line toward the vanishing point. This is just a little bit of framework detail. Anytime you can add an easy detail, I would do it. Just adds something extra special to the picture. This is just me putting something in the corner, maybe a coat rack, and then some drapery hanging off of it. Those could be coats or jackets. And then the details far away follow the same principles, but they are far away, so they don't need to be that clear. You want them clear enough so they're recognizable. That's fine. We're dropping in like a long window. That's an oval table with a leg coming down with an oval base. Drawing a sideways view of a chair, and then converting to the vanishing point a little bit, but again, it can just be implied. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's a side window. Putting a little picture on the wall. Top and bottom are vanishing using a vanishing point. The sides are straight. And then whatever I put here is just going to be straight on. Now, putting an extra border here just for some architectural accents. You just have to remember what goes to the vanishing point and what doesn't. Anything covering distance goes to the vanishing point. Anything that is left to right or vertical is straight. So here's a straight rectangle. It's going to become like a bookshelf. I'm going to take basically double that line to give the front edge thickness. I'm going to mark where the shelves will go. I'll aim them to the vanishing point. No, I'm making the front edge of those shelves first. And I'm going to cut it in toward the vanishing point. Take those corners in toward the vanishing point. Each corner right there that has a visible path I'm going to address. And then this line stays the same all the way through. Basically simulates a bookshelf. Now here I'm simulating books. They're just rectangles that are vertical. Some are angled to show books that are falling over. It looks like really detailed drawing, but it's really not. It's just implied. I erased that part because I decided to make them have cabinet doors. Or no, looks like drawers down there. It can be that easy. So this is like a floor rug for like a pet. And the way to do this is try to visualize a perspective rectangle and then use that rectangle to figure out how the oval would be. Putting a little bit of implied detail in there. So now I'm just jumping around the drawing. Where can I put little details? So I'm putting a person in there standing at a sink and drew a little faucet. Putting a figure sitting down. And they're not detailed at all. They're literally stick figures, but they are following human proportions. Don't need the vanishing point anymore, and now I'm putting in some details. And this drawing is basically getting concluded. Oh, now I'm adding like baseboards around the room at the ceiling level and the floor level. Again, these are minor details that can really improve a drawing. I'm just doubling the lines to the vanishing point in key places to make it look like there's baseboards. Reestablishing the edge, maybe there's a carpet going to a tile floor and it really needs to be defined right there. I'm going to add some more ceiling lights, one right above the door. It's like a miniature version of the one I did earlier. I'm going to attempt to go horizontally over to the left and make one in the same spot over there. It might not be perfect, but that's what I was going for. That pretty much concludes the line drawing version of this drawing, and my next step would be to ink this drawing or shade it or do whatever I feel like.